Um, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 7th, 2022 Ossining, Town of Ossining Planning Board and Architectural Review Board meeting. I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves, starting with Sandy.
Sandy Anelli, Secretary.
Margaret,
Margaret Kahn, Secretary.
Jim,
Jim Basinas, Planning Board member.
Kathy,
Sorry, Kathy Zalantis, Planning Board Attorney.
Dan,
Nancy Arcia, Consulting Engineer to the Planning Board.
Valerie,
Valerie Manastra, Consulting Planner to the Planning Board.
Jason,
Jason Mencher, Planning Board member.
Manny,
Manny Enriquez, Planning Board member.
Donna,
Donna Sharrett, Planning Board member.
and I'm Carolyn Stevens, Planning Board Chair. Okay. The first item this evening is the Pachuchi subdivision, 51 Croton Dam Road. It's a continuation of the public hearing. But we had some other issues that we needed to discuss. It's my understanding, Kathy, that the easements have not all been finished. Is that correct?
So the issue with the easements is they don't need to be finalized prior to the approval being granted. They can, as we've done in the past, be conditions of approval to do the easements. The issue was it wasn't clear from the plat what was an existing easement, what was a proposed easement.
Okay,
Because certain easements were indicated as existing, but it turns out they didn't actually exist.
okay. And
So
has-
as long as the plat specifies what easements are going to be, proposed through the subdivision granting, I don't actually have to review the easement agreements as long as it's a condition of approval, but it has to be clear what's being proposed.
okay, and is it clear what's being proposed? I think you're indicating it's not.
Has the plat been revised to reflect that that they're not existing and they're proposed? Or they're coming about through the granting of this subdivision, they're not already existing prior to the granting of the subdivision?
I can answer that.
Okay,
Ralph Mastromonaco. Yes, the plat would show what is existing and what is proposed. And we took the position that if the easement showed on a prior plat but hadn't been filed ever, then it showed as a proposed easement. And I think there are two cases like that. So we did provide that plat as well as the documents that go along with those easements. And I believe that we have resolved the quest for easements.
okay. And I guess there was also an issue with respect to the stormwater. Dan, was there, and Donna had raised that at the last meeting. Is there anything still outstanding on that?
We've done a preliminary review of the SWIP that was provided. It's generally in compliance with the regs. There's some additional details that may have to be added to the plans, and also the 1-year storm should be analyzed as well, just to comply with the design manual. But
Okay.
we have no reason to believe that'll be a problem, because obviously the system's working in the bigger storms.
And we can make that as also on, if we did a resolution, that can be made conditional as well.
Well, before we leave the easement
Sure.
issue, we had raised a question last go around about the sanitary manhole, which would be the termination of the public facilities.
Right.
Is that covered in any old easements that were covered in the prior subdivision, or is that something we need to capture in this go round and show separately on the plat, because it would appear the access easement is to all the lots in the subdivision, but in terms of the easements that should be going to the town, it seems like that's a separate one. So I wasn't sure whether that needed a separate meets and bounds description on the plat or not.
Oh, I can answer that, Dan. The private road easement is also noted on the plat as being a utility easement, and the documents would go to the town for the entire private road easement. And the water easements also go to the town as they will be filed.
All right, I mean, I just wanted to be clear because we call it a utility easement, but obviously there's cross easements between the parties in the subdivision, which could also be called a utility easement.
Well, the utility easement is for the sewer line, basically. That,
No, I understand, but you've got
but that
sewer
easement,
laterals crossing through, coming from other properties.
it's a joint easement. It would be a joint easement for each party, yes.
All right, so I mean, just make sure we got our I's dotted and T's crossed in terms of how that's all spelled out.
Ralph, so just to clarify, that easement that's going to be granted to the town, that's not already recorded?
No, this
So I
would be.
think the plat, I think to Dan's point, the plat has to be clear to call out the easement that's going to be granted to the town versus the private lot owner's easement.
Can I show you my screen? Let me see if I can show the screen. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
So if you can see that, we actually changed the name of this. It was just a right-of-way parcel, lot 4. It is now called proposed utility and right-of-way parcel.
Okay.
I guess some of the
Proposed-
clarifications will
change-
come through with the easement instrument that gets recorded with
Right.
this.
Can you go through all the other changes that you made to
Could you
indicate
pick-
proposed?
Proposed water easement, proposed sewer easement. Proposed water easement off on this side because it was never filed. And I think that's basically it. I think that's it for the easements. That's it for the easements.
Okay.
Oh, but there's a detail below if you want to see that. I mean, the surveyor, made a little kind of a blow up here. It's really in that triangular area up here. It's just a blow up, and that would be on the plat.
Okay.
And the sewer manhole that Dan is talking about is right here. And that would be within that utility easement, and that utility easement would go to the town, Austin. I mean, the utility easement is the entire parcel, the entire lot 4.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? No?
Well,
Okay.
I still have concerns about the rain garden.
So I have as a recommendation, as part of the conditions of approval, one option for this, Donna, is I did say that for a recommendation that as a condition of approval, the town engineer reviews the water pollution prevention plan and the rain garden details be reviewed as part of the architectural review board application. If you want to continue having that as part of this discussion, we can, but I just wanted to highlight that that's another option to consider.
Yeah, I saw that in your memo.
Mhm.
The problem that I have is that I just feel that this is, well, I wrote it out. I can read it so the planning, what I wrote, so that other planning board members can hear what I have to say about this, but Carolyn, is it all right if I read this?
Sure.
Developments where they can be routinely maintained and the function of the rain gardens can be monitored. Planning board approval of rain gardens on individual residential properties is very problematic, in my opinion. I'm concerned about sediment accumulation over time, plant maintenance and replacement, chemical exposure to plants from lawn chemicals and driveways. This is a driveway that's going to be emptying right into this rain garden. Maintenance of rain gardens is usually, in my opinion, it's beyond the scope of most homeowners. And although this applicant might have the knowledge or the time or money or energy to maintain the rain garden, homes change ownership at some points. And I think it's unlikely that every subsequent homeowner will possess the skill or desire to maintain the rain garden, or even the basic understanding that maintenance is essential. I would never want to approve a rain garden that has the possibility at some point to malfunction and cause erosion or downstream flooding. So it's not just the rain garden, which I definitely have a problem with for a private home. It's also that it's placed right, so that all the water is going to go down onto Croton Dam Road. I mean, if you're going to place, first of all, the rain garden should not be taking water from the driveway. That should be something separate because of the chemicals that could be used on that driveway. I just think it's and it should be placed somewhere not where it's going to be spilling onto Croton Dam Road.
I mean, if
Yes.
we have two engineers working on this and they feel that this is adequate, I don't know what other issue there really is.
It's not a realistic. We have a lot of theoretical stuff goes on and like with secret reviews and maintenance plans and planting plans. A lot of it's theoretical, and this is, in actual practice, this is going to be very hard to maintain, and it's going to be a lot of water. And if you use lawn chemicals, which, I mean, it's unbelievable to me that people still use lawn chemicals, but they do. All that stuff is really bad for plants, and the de-icing stuff it's really hard for plants to survive. So that's my opinion. I think it's.
I mean, the issue we're
great
faced with,
on paper.
Donna, is even if they don't do a rain garden, they've got to put some stormwater practice. So a lot of the concerns you're raising will be part of any stormwater practice that gets installed, whether it's underground infiltrators. It's the same sort of issue. The homeowners have got an obligation to maintain them, but any of these we can't go and not put a practice in. That's really not an option. So the question is, what practice? It sounds like it's less about the practice itself and more about how it's maintained in perpetuity. If I'm hearing your concern.
A garden is a very hard thing to maintain for
Can
most people.
Can I speak to this for a minute?
Sure.
I don't know if I'm still sharing my screen. I'm not sure.
You are.
You are.
All right, we provided a complete drainage assessment of the rain garden. This is my report, did calculations on it. But more importantly, a rain garden is a device that is promoted by New York State DEC for exactly the reasons that Member Sharrett was talking about. This is a device that doesn't really require a lot of maintenance. It's not a big rain garden. It's not a deep thing that's going to flood Croton Dam Road. It's only taking a small amount of area. And this is exactly what we do in cases like this, because New York State DEC in their stormwater manual promotes this type of use. It's an open air treatment of stormwater. And yes, over the years, the plants grow, it could become filled with sediment, there could be sediment in there. And that's why we have a maintenance plan that goes along with that rain garden. And if this board wishes, we can take the rain garden and, it could be within the deed that it be maintained. That we have no problem with that. Would be a permanent maintenance agreement over the rain garden, addressing the responsibility of that homeowner to maintain that device.
So the biggest concern is like leaves filling up in here. So this would be like a full maintenance, that the way you blow the leaves, is that what it is, Ralph? I mean, in the fall, when we clean our leaves, it's the same thing. We blow the leaves out of the rain
Well,
garden.
let me describe what it is.
No, don't blow it.
Excuse me, let me describe what it is. The rain garden is basically a shallow area that is planted. Those plants are fed by the water that we introduce into that rain garden. They're
Right.
these are special plants, they're water resistant plants. We do these all over the world, these rain gardens. And, the idea comes from the New York State DEC for small sites like this. So I think that the concern, is valid, but this is exactly what we would do to ameliorate that concern. This is exactly the device that we would use in that case. It can be seen from above and it can be maintained. Subsurface systems, sometimes towns, our engineers opt out. You can't see what's inside them and they never get maintained. This is the perfect solution, because anything that's wrong with that rain garden is visible from the ground. So, that's why we use them. We use them all over the place. And the secondarily, they do provide control over peak flows. When you get a sharp rainstorm, the water backs up into those things and prevents the type of erosion that you would expect from an intense storm. It actually prevents that from happening. So I believe that, this is something that is a conventional use of a system. And I think that, having Dan look at it prior to signing the plat, would be a good stopgap. Any concerns, I think they would be brought out during that review.
So just as an example, you would not want to use a leaf blower on those plants. So this is just another example. There's just a lack of knowledge of how to maintain a garden. So just saying.
Well, there's the DEC provides, the methods of maintenance of a rain garden. That would be part of the SWIP.
Okay, so I have seen a lot of really beautiful rain gardens, and over time they don't really look great. So they don't work.
Well, they work.
If you had like a municipality or a developer, like a homeowners association, I'm all for it, because I think that you could have it in place. But it's like, if you have, who's going to go and monitor it? So
Well, the homeowner, it's in his interest to monitor it.
Well, I said what I said.
All right, any other comments? Okay, Valerie, where are we with this and what's our next step?
So if the board is interested in moving forward with this particular, with this project, you could ask or authorize me to put together a resolution for next meeting. One thing that you're going to want to do tonight is that this is technically
Public
an action under seeker, and so I provided the board back in July the short form EAF parts 2 and part 3, and so this board would need to issue a negative declaration. So I would advise maybe issuing that negative declaration tonight and then authorizing me to put together a draft resolution for your consideration. I submitted a memo that sort of outlined some recommended conditions. One was that the applicant must meet the requirements of section 176-17 of the town code and obtain all required approvals from Westchester County Department of Health. The other recommendation was that as a condition of approval, the town engineer approves the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Again, I recommended that the rain garden details be reviewed as part of the architectural review board application, but I'll leave that up to the board to determine how you want to handle the rain garden. As another recommendation is that the payment of recreation fee be a condition of approval. And that the final recommendation is that as part of the condition of approval, all easements must be reviewed and approved by the town attorney and recorded by the applicant.
We have no problem with that.
Okay. Kathy, do you have anything to add?
Since the plat is correct now and clearly identifies everything as proposed easements, that they can be conditions of approval to enter to review the easement agreements like we usually do.
Okay. Okay, so Ralph, do you mind closing your sharing screen so we can, because I can't see everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's not your fault.
I'm not even sure how to do that, but. Yeah, there's no button here to says stop sharing. I can't. Oh, here we go. There we go.
Yes,
Somebody,
Good job.
And you
Thank you.
got it. Okay, thank you. Jason, do you have any comments that you want to make before we move forward on this?
I'll just say I'm receptive to Donna's concern, and at the same time, I feel like this applicant and his engineer have worked well with us and appeased or gotten back to us with the information we requested, and I'd like to see them move along in the process. Just so, would the alternative to a rain garden be an underground treatment? And if so, is that, Donna, is that a preference? If there's one or the other, is it that's better in your eyes because the maintenance, I want to see this applicant move forward. I also, understand Donna's concerns, and I'm not educated enough to know why one is better or worse than the other.
So I think
Maybe-
the driveway should be on something other than a plant-based system. So that would be, I'm not an engineer, so I'm guessing that that's the underground thing. And I think that for the driveway, that should be that. And I think the rain garden should be placed somewhere other than right on the edge of the cliff for Croton Dam Road and just for the house. And with a, like the applicant said, to have the condition that it's going to be maintained.
Okay.
That's my
Manny? Manny?
No, I have no comment. Carolyn.
Okay. Jim, anything?
Can Dan jump in on this?
Yeah.
Just
well,
get some clarity.
Dan, do you have any?
We're following the design guidelines that DEC provides us with. In the end, if we're worried about contaminants, if there's runoff that has any contaminants, which, it's possible you could have, a leaking crankcase on a car or something parked in the driveway, but ultimately it's getting into the environment, whether it's getting into the rain garden or into infiltrators. Likewise with any pesticides, herbicides, that stuff's all getting into the environment one way or the other. And for us to, try to restrict that, it's kind of, it's something that the town doesn't really have the ability to realistically do. In terms of the position of the location of the rain garden, it's got to be downhill from where all the runoff is going. So that sort of limits the real estate available to put this thing. It's kind of got to be in that steep area between the house and Croton Dam Road. And the lower it is, the more runoff from the house, the driveways, and the lawn areas that'll go into it and receive some level of treatment. So, I mean, I guess I can't say that I see it as a bad idea. The applicant's complying with the design guidelines and utilizing one of the green infrastructure practices that the DEC really heavily promotes these days.
Okay, so, all right.
As an additional condition to the approval, there should be the condition that the deed provide for the obligation to maintain the rain garden.
I agree.
Okay. Valerie, can you add that to the conditions?
And would it make sense to also have that as a note on the plat? So that
Yeah.
anybody looking at the subdivision plat sees that also.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to your point, Kathy, I think when, years later, when people are trying to figure out what obligations or what's going on with a particular subdivision, the plat's usually the first place people look.
Okay.
That chasing down deeds and stuff is effective and it carries through the chain of title. But I think for municipal people trying to figure out what the deal is with a subdivision years later, the plat is the best way to memorialize your wishes.
So do we need to close the public hearing at this point? Well, first of all, are there any members of the public who are here to comment on this? Sandy?
No, I don't think anyone here is here for this project.
Okay, thank you. And then do we need to close the public hearing at this point, Kathy? Would that be the next step, to close the public hearing? Yep. You're still muted.
Still muted?
Now you're not. Good.
Sorry, I said yes,
Okay,
to close the public hearing.
all right. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Jason?
Yeah, I can
Second.
second. I'll second.
You'll second it? Okay, very good. Donna, how do you vote?
Yes, to close the public hearing.
Okay. Jason,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Manny,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Next, I guess we need to consider the neg deck that was provided to us previously back in July by Valerie. All those in favor of all those in favor of providing a negative declaration on this item? Well, first of all, do I have a motion? Sorry. To move forward.
Motion to issue the negative declaration in the form previously provided.
So moved.
Okay. Do I get a second?
Yeah, second.
Thank you, Manny. Okay. All those, okay. Donna, how do you vote?
I'm confused on this one, but I will vote. What are we voting on to?
On the
to
neg
approve?
deck, or
to
whether to
approve it.
provide a negative declaration.
Right, you're just voting that you don't feel that there is a significant adverse impact that would warrant the development of an environmental impact statement associated with this project.
Yes.
So that
I
would
agree
be
with that.
issuing a negative declaration.
Okay, I agree.
Okay, so that's a yes. Manny, how do you vote?
I'm a yes.
Okay, Jim,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
I'm yes as well. So now we're at having to instruct Valerie to give us a draft resolution, including all the items that we have discussed this evening and that she provided in her memo.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of having of that draft resolution being prepared by Valerie. Jason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you vote?
Yes.
Donna, how do you vote?
I'm gonna vote no.
Okay, I'll vote yes. And that will include that we visit the rain garden issue as part of the ARB application. Is that correct? Valerie?
Yes, that's what I'm intending to.
Okay, very good. And okay. Is there anything else we need to do on this evening?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
let me just summarize. Did you authorize the creation of a resolution?
Yes. That's what
Okay.
we just did.
And that- for the next meeting, would that be?
Yes.
Okay. If that's complete, I just have one comment I'd like to make.
Sure.
This application, there was an application made earlier for the ARB
Right.
months ago. That application is still pending. Is it possible that this board would open a public hearing at the next meeting on that application?
Yes. Assuming all the notices and everything have been sent, yes.
Okay, so does the board have to vote on that or to set a public hearing for the next meeting?
No, well, we'll open the public hearing at the next meeting. There has to be notice that there's going to be a public hearing.
Okay, but does the board have to take action to set a public?
Not
Is there sufficient time to set the public hearing for the next
meeting.
meeting?
I'm sorry, you.
Yeah.
Sandy, I'm asking Sandy.
Yes, I
Yes.
think so.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if you want to set the public hearing for the ARB at the next meeting, subject to getting the notices out in advance of that, you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All the, let's see.
When would be the next meeting, Sandy?
The 21st?
September 21st.
Okay, so we have someone want to make a motion to set a public hearing for the ARB application on the
Can I
21st?
just ask, can I just ask a question? I recall the submission that they put in, and it didn't seem like there was enough information. So I don't know if you presented, if more information, I mean, just to benefit you so that this
Right.
can move along when, rather than come to the next meeting and then we ask for it.
Right,
Normally when we get like the siding colors and it didn't seem, I don't recall what you presented, but I remember it's seeming a lot less information than we normally get. Does any of my other members or the?
I do
district-
have the roofing and the siding color. I do have that.
okay,
And
well,
it was
we-
what the
we-
building looks like and all of that,
Right.
right? Like,
Right. The elevation.
okay,
That was done by the architect.
right, okay.
maybe I didn't get it. I don't remember. Did everybody else get that with all that information?
I think Sandy will need to recirculate everything again, and I think, Sandy, you were gonna reach out to the applicant and have them update a few things.
Right, I don't remember seeing siding and colors and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
I don't even, was there a landscaping plan included? I don't read.
Yes, yes, it was.
Okay, very good, all right.
And I have samples of the colors as well.
Good. Okay, great. All right, Sandy, you can recirculate what we have
Yeah.
and, okay, very good. Okay, can we have a motion then to set a public hearing, provided all the notices are properly sent out for the September 21st meeting of this board as a Board of Architectural Review. Somebody want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion, assuming everything gets out on time, then yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Can I get a second on that?
Yeah, I second.
Okay. Jason, I guess. All right, Donna, how do you vote?
I'm fine with that.
Yes, okay. Jason,
Yes.
Manny,
Yes,
Jim,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. I think
All right, good evening.
Okay, have a good evening.
Okay, good night now.
Good night.
The next item is Rose Lodge, 83 Summers Town Road. It's for a wetlands and fill and grade permit. and It's a public hearing. Good evening. Is there, and just as, Sandy, do you know if there's anyone here from the public for this as well?
I don't see anyone from the public. Oh, yes, there's one, John Scabilia.
Okay, all right. We'll get to him in a minute.
Okay.
I guess, applicant, you wanna, or Valerie, you wanna fill us in where we are and,
Sure. So a couple of things. This particular application required a referral to the EAC. We haven't received anything from the EAC yet. So we'll try to follow up with the EAC to see if they're planning to submit any comments. But the town's environmental consultant did provide comments on the mitigation plan. And there are some suggested changes to the mitigation plan or additional information that they're requesting. And so it is my recommendation to the planning board that the applicant does provide a response to Steve Coleman's letter and memo outlining his concerns and changes that he would like to see to the mitigation plan.
gentlemen, have a chance to look at Steve Coleman's report?
Yes, Chairperson. For the record, Taylor Palmer with Cuddy and Fader on behalf of the applicant. If I may, we're happy to give a brief presentation for the benefit of those in the public. We did a similar presentation last month, but if you'd like, we could give a quick update. We did have a chance to review Steve Coleman's memo, and we do have some comments in response tonight. Just by way of background, again, Taylor Palmer with Cuddy and Fader on behalf of the applicant. I am joined by Duncan Simpson from Princeton Hydro and our project engineer, Andre Lukanoff, who's also joining us here from Engineering, Surveying and Properties. We are here again tonight for continued review of our wetlands permit and filling and grading permit applications. We're proposing to restore disturbed wetlands on the property. And as the chair mentioned, we are here specifically for our public hearing. Just again, by way of brief background for the members of the public, in attendance, the property is 17.9 acres. Manny Sar is way off on the number and is classified in the R40 district. It does have a sizable pond and lake on the property. We did submit originally to your board in response to an order of remedy back in October of 2021. We were instructed to remedy these violations pursuant to the town code, which removed certain fill material that was brought in without a permit in the certain wetland buffer. Initially, we had sought permits in order to construct a 0.5 acre approximately sandy beach on the property. However, as the board is aware, and as noted in your consultant's memo, the applicant at this time is simply proposing to restore those disturbances. So no beach proposal is provided at this time. As a brief update, since we last appeared before you on August 17th, the applicant did host 3 site visits with members of the board and members of the EAC. So members went out to the site 3 different dates, August 25th, the 29th, and September 6th, to take a look at this, the property and what's done, the silt fencing that's there and the material that's been removed since that time. And as mentioned, we did receive Steve Coleman's September 1st memo. If I may, many of those comments that are in the memo are they're minor in changes, and I don't think we have much objection. For those that have been to the site, certainly we are proposing to stay and move away from any trees or shrubbery in that area. It wasn't what was there. We're proposing again to restore the area, but the other comments, whether it's aeration or other comments related to the pond, not again related to our impacts, but restoring the area and generally bettering that location. I don't think we have any concern with, and Duncan will express that now. So if I may, Chair, I'll turn to Duncan just to give an update since they prepared the plan. Princeton Hydro, I understand, was brought in at a recommendation of the town in order to propose the remediation to restore the area. So with that, Duncan, if you could provide us and members of the public just with the updates and the mitigation plan proposed to restore the area, again, not proposing any beach area on the site. Duncan, we can't hear you.
Okay, is this better?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I will share the existing plan for this discussion. So the existing plans as proposed are to plant a mix of lawn restoration mix and shoreline restoration, all seed mixes. During construction, there'll be a restored grades using imported fill material and 3 inches of organic leaf compost. Along the shoreline, along the water line, there would be an 8-inch compost filter sock to catch any runoff coming down the lawn into the lake. The comments suggest changing to live plantings, which we have no issue with. We can change that. Extending the vegetative buffer to a minimum of 15 feet, which is no problem. Providing more detail on the fill, which again, we can provide. The extending the planting to the area of the water course, across the water course, which again, there's no objection to. And there was a comment regarding a subsurface aeration system in the lake. I think we have no objection to as well. And finally, a 3-year monitoring plan, which can be developed and submitted for approval.
So generally, Chair, that's our presentation. Generally of the application before the board. Again, this is not a new proposal. It's a restoration proposal for the site. Chair, I think you're on mute.
You're right. Are there any members of the public who want to make any comments at this time?
John Scabilia has his hand up. I'm going to promote him so he can.
Just while John's being promoted, Kathy, do we need to do, does the board need to resolve to open the public hearing or anything to that effect, or are we okay?
Okay. Kathy, we need to. You muted, Kathy.
Sorry, we should open the public hearing. Thank you,
Sorry.
Taylor.
Okay.
Here we go.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
Open
One moment.
Okay, we need a motion to,
I'll
okay,
make a motion.
thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Very good. Okay, the public hearing is now open. Okay, now you can speak.
Just call me John.
Okay.
I live across the street. So my question is, was there any damage done that needs to be rectified? I understand the restoration of what was there. Was there damage done that needs to be corrected? That's my question.
Okay. I guess, Valerie, do you have anything to add?
Well, I would probably defer to the applicant at this point in terms of, you know, Duncan's been out to the site and has developed the mitigation plan, but I think part of the point is that, you know, there was damage clearly done to the vegetation, which is why they're doing the mitigation plan to put it back into what it was originally. In terms of like wildlife habitat, I mean, that was not investigated at this point in time.
Then we're pleased to respond to that. Duncan, maybe chime in. I think effectively the representative or the town's wetland consultant has requested mitigation that would probably go beyond what was existing in the conditions, like we didn't remove any trees or any other details from the area. But I believe, and I'll defer to the experts on this, the mitigation that the town is proposing is well beyond, I think, the existing conditions. But I'll let Duncan address that.
Yeah, just small point of clarification. I personally haven't been to the site, but another individual from Princeton Hydro has visited the site, investigated for, I think, the concern about downstream transport of the sand that was imported.
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Sorry. So I have not been to the site, but a coworker of mine has investigate possible downstream transport of the imported sand that was used for the beach, and didn't observe that. Yeah, as Taylor was saying, the recommendations from the town consultant would go above and beyond what was provided to us as evidence of the pre-existing conditions. In terms of the native vegetation buffer would be wider than the pre-existing conditions, which was largely a regularly mowed lawn. So that would be an improvement. And there, with 3 years of monitoring, it would identify any invasive plants or areas where the plantings were not thriving or propagating. So those could be remediated as necessary. To mention also, there was a comment about the outlet from the water course entering the stream. That would be, the comment was to stabilize it with rock, or stone that would be addressed as well. So that would be another point of improvement against the existing conditions.
If I may just follow up my question, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Not sure where you are there.
Yeah.
You're answering today going forward, if this is approved. My question really is, that's been sitting there for quite a while. Any damage or impact, I should not assume damage, any impact that's been done that needs to be mitigated? That's my question, not replacing what ought to be or even being better than what was there, but was there any damage done that needs to be mitigated from the year or so that this work was done? And if I didn't understand the answer, I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, besides the investigation for downstream transport of sand, there hasn't been a detailed assessment of that. So I can't really speak to that. There was grading conducted to allow for the sand to be imported, and that is sand which has now been removed. But I'm not in a position to state.
We do have photos of the existing prior conditions prior to disturbance. So we have those from when the property was purchased. Again, the restoration plan is designed to mitigate what was done on the site, and it's a substantial mitigation plan. We had many members come out to the site to ensure what was there. There's maybe you can describe better than I can, Duncan. Silt fencing, the material that was in that location has been removed. It's been put. It is also silt fenced off. So the material that was there has been removed. So it's not the existing. The condition has been temporarily remediated as far as it hasn't been the mitigation plan the town has proposed, but the applicant is agreeing to make those changes to restore the area, and again, wider than what was the existing condition. So it's not just a restoration plan, it's a collective mitigation restoration plan.
Does that answer your question, John?
Kinda, but thank you so
Thank you.
much for your response.
Okay. All right. Is Sandy, anybody else?
No, there's no one else with their hand raised.
Okay, very good. Valerie, next steps?
I have some comments.
Okay, Donna.
So I think it's really great that you're improving it to 15 feet. It's definitely going to be an improvement over what was there. So I am a little concerned as why this sand is not being completely removed, as what I don't understand what the intent of keeping it on site. And then the stones, of course, too. It would be great if you could use those stones to help restabilize the entire disturbed shoreline, not just where the water course is coming in. But I would be interested in what the intent of the stored sand is. Also, Mr. Coleman's report noted that there was, you know, that there's like algae, and I don't remember his exact words, but I know this is out of our purview, but it'd be great if someone could encourage the homeowners not to use a lot of chemicals on the lawn, because if that's such a downslope, that is going to impact the pond. Just as a suggestion. And then Duncan, you're going to be switching to adding some plants. So my suggestion would be that they are really, really like the toughest plants possible for this kind of situation, and that they're also deer resistant, because it is, unless there's deer fencing, it's not my understanding that there is, but there's a lot of deer pressure in the area. So that'd be great if they could be, if it could be just incredibly low maintenance and hardy. I think that would be the best recipe for success. And then if there could be some simple maintenance plan to just guide the homeowners, because this is probably something that they're not used to doing. You know, mowing the lawn is something everyone can seem to handle, but so that would be really great if there would some guidance for them. I think would be really great, and I really appreciate the 3-year monitoring plan that you've proposed. So thank you so much, and thank you for
Yes.
using the scientific Latin for the plants. That's very helpful. Thank you.
And the monitoring is also a maintenance plan, so that's incorporated.
Perfect.
Sure.
Yeah, that just to benefit the homeowners, because it's not going to be it. Maybe they would know how to do it, but most people.
Yes, and we've also agreed to
heavy
incorporate
lift.
some additional aeration. There is already aeration on there, but again, obviously not. It's been an interesting year. Obviously, that was the first rain that we've had in however many days. But
I think
notwithstanding
weeks.
it, yeah, weeks, right, months. At least we're not in California. But any event, yeah, we're committed to, you know, bettering that, and this applicant is certainly committed to doing that.
Okay. Any other board members have any comments at this point? No. Okay, so we still have to wait for the EAC report. Is that correct, Valerie?
I
Well,
believe
I
they are
mean-
going to submit comments. I know they went out there, so I'm their liaison, and it's my understanding. They have the meeting the night before our next meeting, so I can definitely let you know if they're not intending on doing it.
Okay. It's my understanding that they haven't, don't we have to get a report from them? No?
I think they're going to give one, but I can't speak for them. So is it required? I don't think so. But I think they're going to.
No, it's not required, and I do believe they're typically, I will have to check the wetlands regulations, but usually there's something like, you know, either 30 or 60 days of which, environmental advisory council that's providing a recommendation needs to respond. But even so, you know, the applicant will need to provide revised plans so that Steve Coleman can review those.
Right.
So that will be another next step. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have those revised plans, and we'll also have review from the EAC, and then maybe at that point, then this board can consider authorizing for me to draft a resolution.
Okay, so we'll keep the public hearing open and we'll expect a response to Steve Coleman's report, and hopefully we'll have the EAC comments before then, so you can respond to those if necessary.
If I may, just for the benefit of or just a point of information, Chair, as far as the seeker review, or, sort of in consultation with what we're doing on the public hearing aspect of it,
Right.
Valerie, would that take place simultaneously, or when would a seeker determination be rendered associated with the application?
Yeah, we can do that at the next meeting as well.
And would that be the September 21st meeting? We can get these comments in very quickly, and I know where to find Steve if we need to get those comments in for the next meeting. So just trying to understand for the applicants, they're eager to also have to work with the existing notice of violation and have that lifted. So there's a little bit of they can't do anything at the property, period, while that's pending. So we're hopeful to try and coordinate those pieces. Appreciate the board working with us to try and bring this matter to a point.
So if you get the response into Coleman's report, we should be able to, close the public hearing at the next meeting and instruct Valerie to draft a resolution. Okay.
Great.
Is there any preliminary information about the existing sand? Referring to Donna's question about what's remaining? Or are we waiting until the next meeting to hear about that?
About the sand that's been removed?
Is it all being removed? Is there any being left behind?
We'll certainly speak to the applicant. I know it's right now, it's just in a pile on the property.
But the intent is for it to leave.
I'll have to, but again, I'll have to ask the applicant. I don't have the answer to your question, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Continue the public hearing.
May I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Yeah, second.
Thanks, Manny. Jason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. We'll see you on the 21st.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. The next item is Terra Rustica, 550 North State Road Site Plan Amendment. Hello. Okay. So as I understand where we are now is that you now, after having expanded the deck and put a roof on it, you now want to enclose it?
That's
that
correct.
correct?
Good evening, Madam Chair. For the record, Corey Salomon from Zarin and Steinmetz here tonight on behalf of Terra Rustica. Here with me is our project architect, Lou DeMacy. And you're correct. About a year ago, we appeared before your board as well as the Zoning Board of Appeals to expand the deck by about 380 square feet. That was approved. We did the construction work. And now the applicant is requesting to enclose it with tempered glass panels that would be able to be retracted or opened during the warmer weather months and closed during the colder times. And the seat count will remain identical to what it is now. We're not adding any seats or anything.
Okay. Okay. All right, Valerie.
This particular project is an amendment to the site plan and also requires ARB. It will require a public hearing. So if the board wants to call for a public hearing for next meeting, and I mean, clearly you can have whatever discussions are needed or any questions that you have on the
Right.
application, but that would be the process.
Okay, very good.
So,
Yes,
I have a question then.
sure.
So I was part of the zoning board when this application for an extension of the deck was submitted. And it was expanded from 600 to by another 380 square feet. So and it was encroaching on setback by how much was that? Was it 5 feet, 4 feet?
It was about 4.5 feet.
Yeah, 4.5 feet. So at that time, we had no problems approving it because it was an open deck. Was it always intended to be enclosed when you filed that application? So-
It was not. It was only after until it was constructed. The applicant reached out to Lou and myself 3 or 4 months ago after it was operational, and he said that this is what he'd like to do and asked us to proceed with an amended site plan application.
So this technically increases the square footage of the restaurant from 4,300 by another 1,000 square feet, right?
No, because I mean, the deck has always been operational. We've always been utilizing it.
But it was an open deck. It's not, if it's an open deck, it's not counted as usable actually square footage of the house. Now it's going to be totally enclosed. I don't understand how you're not going to increase capacity with an enclosed, with additional 1,000 square feet.
Well, the deck has been there since the late 90s, I believe, and we did increase it, you're right, from 620 square feet to 1,000 square feet. When it was 620 square feet, there were 30 seats on the deck. At 1,000 square feet, we've committed to keeping 30 seats on the deck, and whether we are able to enclose it with the tempered glass or not, there's always going to be 30 seats on the deck. We're not increasing the seating at all.
But I guess this is a question for Kathy. Kathy, once they enclose that, fully enclose that with weatherproof and everything, it's now part of the usable square footage, right? So technically it's an increase of 1,000 square feet.
What you're saying, the deck was only seasonal, right? Because it wasn't enclosed, is that the
Correct.
contention? So now you're proposing to have an all-season area that would essentially be part of the structure, correct?
Correct.
So there is additional capacity because now the seating can, if it's still 30 seats, that 30 seats can also be used in the winter time where it couldn't prior.
Sure. So I'll consent to that. I mean, 4 or 5 months out of the year, the deck was not being used. If we enclose it, we can use it for those months.
Are they?
Also, was the variance granted specifically on the plan of a deck?
Yes.
Covered porch, actually, not just a deck, but a covered porch.
Covered porch. I mean, I would defer to John Hamilton, but this could implicate the need for another variance because the variance was specific to that plan about the deck, not an enclosed structure essentially.
So I
So
can
that's what I'm getting at, actually. It's now, your 4,300 enclosed restaurant is now, will technically be 5,300 square feet. The deck is already usable space. So it's no longer an open area. It's part of the livable floor square footage, usable square footage.
And another question, do you have intention to heat it in the winter? Or are you providing air, any airflow in there during the winter? How is that?
Sure. I mean, if approved, we will heat it in the winter. Yes.
It's going to be no different from any other section of the restaurant.
Right.
In other words.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the variance covers this because the variance was granted based on the plan for a deck. This is a increased setback based on a building.
Well, I mean, it was a covered porch. I mean, I'm not sure the distinction we're making with putting glass.
Yeah, but it's not just putting glass. You're totally enclosing it, weatherproofing it, putting all you have to comply with basically New York State Energy Environmental Code, which is, it has to have a U factor now because you're climate zone 4. So technically it's no longer a deck. So the variance that was approved was for an open, thereby roof structure, which at that time was not included as square footage. Now you're actually building an extension. You built an extension, you're enclosing it, you're weatherproofing it. No, it's now part of the usable square footage. So it's.
I mean, I would have to go back and look at the ZBA resolution, but generally it's based and limited to the plan. And the plan was for like you said, Manny, for a deck, not for a fully enclosed structure that's going to be heated and weatherproofed. So.
I did raise this issue with John, not necessarily the ZBA resolution, but the capacity issue. He did say that as long as, because right now the applicant is proposing to keep the same capacity. So from his interpretation that the capacity itself isn't necessarily increasing if the applicant is stating that they're still only going to have the number of tables that were originally approved. However, as Kathy said, the resolution and the intent of the ZBA, that John did not opine on.
Okay, and I guess my question to Kathy, would this have to go to the ZBA before it came to us?
Well, if John agrees or
Right,
with what is being discussed today, that this is not covered by the prior variance grant, that this is something different, then it would have to go back to the zoning board.
okay,
I mean, it could
But
be,
Kathy,
you could
can I
be
ask-
dealt with in tandem. So
right.
this board can
Yeah,
start
I
the
get it.
process.
But the variance that was granted was an area variance. It was a distance to the structure itself. That would not change. It'd still be an area variance, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It would still be an area variance, but the
But
area,
we're not asking for an increase on that part. We're
but
just
the
asking-
area variance granted was based on a specific plan that you presented to the board, right?
Which
It was
was-
limited to that plan that showed a deck. Now you're asking essentially,
Not a deck, a covered porch. You got to make that.
okay, a
distinction.
covered
Deck-
porch.
Yeah.
Same thing. But I understand you're looking at it differently, but a covered porch is different from a fully enclosed building.
Yeah, yeah, a covered porch is still seasonal.
So if we
So
called it,
that's the
with
main
a-
difference.
okay, so if we enclose it with glass and call it a sunroom, that's exempt from the New York State classification for energy. We could call it a sunroom and not heat it if that's going to be easier to do.
Look, the building inspector may agree that it's covered by the prior variance grant. I'm
Okay.
just asking that the building inspector opine on it and is what you're proposing now covered by the variance grant? Otherwise, you have to go back to the zoning board. I'm not saying that they'll ultimately deny it. I'm just saying you'd have to go back and go through that process again to get another variance. If the building inspector determines that it's not covered by the prior variance grant.
Understood.
So I have a question about the seating capacity, because I actually did call John about this a while ago, and because there's a lot of tables on there. I remember when it first came in front of us, it was proposed that the goal was to have like socially distanced spaced tables, so there's a lot of room on the porch, and there's a lot of tables on there. So I went by the other day, and it looks like they're 4-seaters, right? I mean, that's on those tables, and there's 11 of them alongside the roadside, and then there's I couldn't tell, it's like 6 or 8 on the wall side. So it's pretty packed in there. So it seems like you had 30 when it was 680 square foot. A seating for 30 is what you're saying. But you have the same density and on a bigger space. So it seems to me that there's more than 30 seats. And I brought this up to John Hamilton, and he told me that I'm still baffled by this, that it's not the amount of seats or tables, it's the amount of people when he goes to inspect. He's a part-time building inspector. He's there Mondays and went through Wednesday. So on Friday and Saturday, it's pretty packed, but I guess no one's going out to look at it then. So I'm asking how many actual seats are on that porch, because they look pretty close together. Do you know?
I do not know. I haven't been to the
Well,
restaurant.
Well, we can go by the code. Normally, when with a assembly like this, it's considered assembly with movable seats. Your capacity is 15 square feet per person. I think that's the square footage. So 1,000, you're technically legal to put 66 people there.
It would change the parking. This is the problem.
So yeah, it's going to impact parking as well. I don't know.
I
if they
have
enough
noticed
parking.
people are parking across the street at night at the, that little strip mall, which, I mean, there could be an agreement between those people, and that's none of our business, but it does seem like there's a need for more parking. So I'm wondering, I looked through the zoning board of appeals minutes, and it must be like 8 times they're mentioning that this is fine as long as the same stays 30 seating. Like they just kept mentioning it over and over again. And I know that's what we were told too. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, but they also own the adjacent vacant lot. I know I remember parking there a few times when their parking was packed. So I don't know if that's a legal parking area, but
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is that when we were looking at it, it was specifically that the seating would stay the same, and actually that was stated tonight too, that the seating would stay the same as the 30 seating as before. So I don't know what that changes, but it does seem to have changed.
once the square footage is adopted and this is built, capacity is going to increase. They're legally, they can legally put 66 people in that 1,000 square feet.
Okay, so then they have to make sure that they have adequate parking. I think that's.
So
part
I
of-
think, right, so I think there's a difference. So I think Manny's referring to legally by building code. They
Right.
could fit, up to 60 people within that space. In
Just what
terms
they-
of the zoning variance that was approved, they can only have 30 people within that defined space. So it becomes, if the board grants this and this project does move forward, it would become an enforcement situation if there's more tables than permitted as part of the ZBA resolution and the planning board site plan resolution.
But doesn't the
Violation
parking
of
have to
the
be addressed?
existing. I was just gonna say they'd be in violation of the existing variance approval and site plan approval if there's more than the 30 seats. That were the basis for the granting of those approvals.
So, Valerie, what are our next steps?
So why don't Sandy will talk to, I would suggest Sandy will talk to John and get him to write a letter as to the ZBA resolution and whether the resolution would still be in effect if the covered porch is enclosed.
Okay,
Once we have that resolved, then we can bring it back to the board. If the board wants to call for a public hearing next meeting, you can. Or if you want to hold off for one meeting, that's completely up to this board.
Kathy, I'm sorry.
And maybe I just didn't see them, but I didn't see any plans of the covered porch. Were plans submitted?
Plans were submitted. I could share the
Yeah.
screen if you want.
Okay,
Yeah,
then I
yeah,
just didn't get them.
okay. You have the plans.
Do you want me to share the screen?
It's up to the board.
We have the plans.
Yeah, I think we received them.
Yeah, okay, we're good. Did you want to see them, Kathy, or?
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, so, I guess we'll just continue this and,
So do you feel like you have enough information to call for the public hearing at the next planning board meeting, or do you want to wait?
I think I want to wait to find out what the status is with respect to the zoning board. Because if they're going to have a public hearing as well, we'll have to try and, if they're going to take it back, then we're going to have to try and figure that out, so.
Well, would it be possible to schedule a public hearing? And if we find out we have to go to the ZBA, obviously we could just adjourn the hearing at the planning board and then go to the ZBA. If not, we don't lose time that way.
Any thoughts, folks? Donna, Jim, Jason, anybody?
We have to get notifications out. Do we have the timing right? I mean, if the applicant could get, everything together, I have no problem with
All right.
public hearing. We can just adjourn it if
They-
we
they
need
do,
more information.
Right, okay, all right. I'm hearing, all right, so let's have a motion. Jim, you want to make a motion to?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
This on for a public hearing for the September 21st. Providing we have all the notice out and everything. Okay, Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you?
Yeah, yes, for me.
Jason?
Vote yes if Mr. Salmone will bring his dog in the background. I vote yes.
You want both of my dogs or just this one?
Yeah, we
That's the one I see.
see both of them. They're very,
I didn't shut the door hard enough, sorry. At least they're not barking.
we got to see Kathy's cat. We get to see your dog.
That's Scout.
You know, it gives everybody, it makes everybody smile. It's
Yeah.
fine. So hopefully on one of these meetings, we'll see Jason's baby.
Soon.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. All right, so assuming you get everything done by the next week, by the 21st rather, I guess we'll have a public hearing, and that might be affected by what we find out from John Hamilton. Okay, all
Understood. Understood. It's at our risk. I appreciate it. Thank you.
right. So I guess that's it for this evening.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, babe, good night.
Although I did notice when you put out an amended hearing notice with included agenda rather, included River Knoll as a miscellaneous item. Do we have something we?
Yeah, I thought, Valerie, did you want to talk about River Knoll? or-
Yeah, just that, just the fact that the public comment period ended on September 6th. And so all the comments that we received from the public, including the transcript from the public hearing, will be incorporated into the final environmental impact statement.
Okay.
And Kathy, Carolyn and I could not remember did we close the public hearing last month and then kept the public comment period open, or did we keep the public hearing open and we need to close it tonight?
Or Sandy, can you help us on that?
You closed the public hearing, but left the written comment open
Okay.
till
Okay.
September.
Good. Thank you. All right. That answers that. Okay, so then we're good. Valerie?
I have a
Good work
question
on
and a
this,
comment.
Valerie.
Sure. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Jason.
The comment is, we do have to, I think, approve the meeting minutes unless I missed that for the last two meetings.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have that. Yeah,
And my
yes.
question, Valerie, was, I think a few written comments got forwarded our way. Was there a substantial number of written comments, letters, or otherwise from the surrounding neighbors or the community, or no?
I'll turn this over to Sandy, but I asked the same thing because I said, am I missing something? And so, no, I think everything that you received is what she received. Correct, Sandy?
Yes, I sent all the written comment. I circulated it to the board as soon as I got it. So there were a couple of letters that seemed a little similar, but different people with different addresses were signing off. And then there was, a group just yesterday or the day before from just within the town committees, town board and EAC.
Right. Okay.
Is there any idea of what the timeline is for when this will come back around and the applicant will respond to all those comments? Or, 3 months,
No.
1 week, 6 months, a year, no idea? Just
No,
curious. Yeah.
I would assume that they're gonna want to respond sooner than later.
Sure.
But the FEIS does become the planning board's document, so there will be some of that back and forth internally as to how they respond to the questions and whether the questions are complete.
Yeah. I really do-
I'm also anticipating that he's going to be making some changes to his plans as well. So we're going to have to wait and see what those are based on the comments.
A really good job. I read the whole memo. It was really good.
Yeah.
think everyone's input was very helpful. And so I'm very happy to say that thank you for being thorough in your review on this particular project.
Mhm.
Thank you for putting it together.
Okay.
So, but I have a question regarding the River Knoll. The final approval on that one, is that up for a vote in November for the change of use, or is it going to be fully decided by the town or the?
Action can be taken until seeker is complete.
Right.
So it depends on the timing really of seeker.
And
But is
There has to be, sorry.
But will it be up for a vote in November if it's going to be, the change of use is going to be granted or?
I don't think the timing would work. Even if
Oh,
if
okay.
they turned in an FEIS tomorrow, you still have there's still a 10-day public comment period, and then you would have to ultimately pass you have to develop the finding statement and pass that as well. So there is still a little bit more of the seeker process. And as Carolyn mentioned, we're anticipating probably some changes to the site plan, which will take some time.
Okay. Well, I think we're done for this evening. I mean, unless,
We have the
Meeting minutes.
minutes. We have the minutes.
yes. Okay, we had 2 sets of minutes. One was for August 3rd, I believe.
Yes.
Does anybody have any comments on the August 3rd minutes? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Manny. Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jason, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And then the other date,
August 17th.
August 17th. Thank you. Does anybody have any comments with respect to the August 17th minutes? No. Okay. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Donna. Second, anybody? Somebody want a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason.
Mhm.
One advantage of a public meeting is that I can poke somebody to do that. I can't do that here. Okay, so, all right. Jim, how do you vote?
Yes, but I wasn't there.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Okay. So, Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Jason, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So the minutes are accepted. All right.
So I have a couple questions. Did anything ever happen to the planting protocol, Valerie?
We have to post it, but I mean, at this point, we can start utilizing it for future applications.
That's great. That's great. And then also I had a question. What's happening with Armstrong Plumbing? Has that got approved? And is there a point where if they don't start doing something that they lose their approval? What happens with that? Does anybody know?
Provisions in the code, but I'd have to go back and check timing.
Does anybody know why there's nothing happening? Sandy, do you know?
No, we haven't had any contact with them, and
It's got a temporary CO
issue
to
play
like
out,
operate, right?
Because
I mean, if I remember correctly, it was something,
No,
something
they're-
about
they're
waiting for
actually-
planting season, which we
There
probably
isn't-
missed in the spring.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
no, there's no CO involved because they just moved into an existing building.
Oh,
The only CO they received was for an emergency backup generator, which they already installed. But as far as the site plan, that's still open. I don't think they've called us for any final inspections.
They also at one point came back for an amendment, which was all tied into the water main thing. Did that amendment get approved?
That was approved by the board, yes.
So that's where the music stopped. That's amendment is what they're supposed to do. Okay.
Yes, so they're not obligated to do it, or they just could just not do it. I don't understand why they would have gone through all the effort, but
No, I think they're obligated to do it,
Oh.
because I think it was something related to, like a change in the original site plan, right? And then there was an agreement with the town and property owners to deal with that water easement, and that's why they came before us for a site plan amendment. So I think Sandy will have to probably have John take a look at that,
Yeah, typically everything would need to be complete within a year, right?
right?
yeah, I think that's passed, right? At this point. But
Yeah, unfortunately,
anyway.
a lot of times the process has a CO dangling at the end of it. So that's sort of, usually we can hang them up on the CO, but they were able to occupy the building right after they purchased it, as I recall.
Yeah.
Because it would be a big improvement to North State to have that not look like it does now. That'd be great. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, just because it's on my mind, because I live next door. Can anybody speak to what's going on with Parth Knowles affordable housing units? I actually went on that Westchester site, not a Westchester County site, but the not-for-profit they were allegedly gonna partner with and
Waterville,
put
yeah.
listings on, and I don't know, last time I checked, nothing was live. There was just a placeholder. I'm just curious. I know we have no pending action, but as a member of the community, I want to make sure, they're doing the right thing.
So we're monitoring oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, you could speak to it better, Valerie. I was just gonna say that I know the CO was issued with the condition about the affordability, that still has to be resolved. So there is some mention of the affordability in the CO. I can get the exact language, but. I'm
Right,
sorry.
and we are monitoring the situation to make sure that, ultimately that those 2 units go as they're supposed to be appropriately priced for families in those economic ranges. They do not necessarily have to move forward with the not-for-profit they were looking towards. So they could do it on their own, but that's really up to them at this point. But they do owe the town those units, and the town is aware that they have not fulfilled their requirements at this point.
And what I guess my question to you is what if any what's the word I'm looking for? Stick does the does the town have if they don't do
Well,
what
I think they're gonna want to, because at some point they're not making any money, right? They're gonna want to rent those units, because if not, those units remain vacant and they're not collecting any rent on those units. So ultimately, we do think that they will rent those units. It's just that they need to get a little bit more organized and start really marketing for those units. At this
Yeah,
point.
one thing I'll note, because I'm on the Parth Knowles website, if you go to apartments and then you click affordable, they have an inquiry on here, and it looks like they did it by way of a Google form. I'm not versed in the legality of any of this. I'm assuming all the questions they're asking in this form are permissible, but I don't know, I'm reading them and they look, I'm speaking as a layperson, the questions seem like they might deter people from applying. Now, maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but just.
No, we did, they had additional forms up on the website. Christy and John and I made them change the forms and take down some of the requirements that they had, because some of them were not permissible. Like they had a source of income, as so they didn't want Section 8 housing, and that's a protected class in Westchester County, so they had to change that. And we also identified some other items that they were requesting. But again, we'll take a look. I'll take a look back on their website to see what they changed. And if there are some additional issues, I think Christy and I can reach out to them again. But it is their obligation to provide the units.
Yeah, they have a question right now that says indicate your sources of income for monthly rent. Maybe they were supposed to take it down, or maybe they reworded it, and that's okay, but again, just,
Well, there is, I will say this, working with affordable units, there is a lot of documentation that's required because you do
Sure.
have to demonstrate
True,
that
yeah.
you fall within that
Okay.
certain income. But you cannot be exclusive to somebody based upon the source of income. So you can ask them what their source of income is, but you can't say we are not taking renters that have whatever source of income. As long as there's income coming in and they can demonstrate that and it falls within that economic range, then they should be able to move forward with the application process.
okay. As a community member, thank you guys for staying on top of it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
just, sorry, I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna add just, so some specificity, the C of O is issued with language that is being issued subject to the applicant working with the town to lease the affordable housing units to eligible tenants as soon as possible, including promptly providing the town with documentation. And also it says that the 50-year period of affordability will not commence until occupancy. So and Carolyn, to answer your question, ultimately the town's recourse is to revoke the C of O if it gets to that point, but nobody anticipates that happening because they've been working cooperatively with the town.
Gross annual. I was just looking at I got it on my phone, their website and the affordable. So it asks annual income or gross annual income for all members of the household. It then asks for combined assets. And says
That is a common question because if somebody has a tremendous amount of assets, but they're
Mhm.
showing very little income, those
Right.
assets at times go towards the, income.
right, okay. It doesn't, still says, please indicate sources of income for monthly rent.
That's okay.
And then will it be your primary residence?
So, I have a question, but how do they identify people with that are qualified to rent this place? I mean, in New York City, developers are obligated to advertise in a local newspaper for, I don't know how long, but they are obligated. That way, people tend to know. But how will people know?
They're supposed to, according to the town code, they're supposed to provide a marketing plan. And so we're waiting for them to provide that marketing plan. That's where they were going to have, like West Hab, to put together a marketing plan and start marketing for those units. So that's part of we're still waiting on that additional information from from Parth Knowles. And that's part of the reason why those conditions were put onto the certificate of occupancy, because they were not ready at that point to have the marketing plan ready to go. So all they've done so far is post to their website as to basically the Google form of the information. So we are hoping that they get a little bit more organized, put together their marketing plan, submit that to the town, and we can move forward. If not, we will be following up with them, within the next month or so to say, what are you doing? Because we've also told them that we'd be happy to, advertise for them on the availability of those units. There's other organizations that would also potentially be open to that as well. So that's where the conversation was left off, and we're hoping that they'll get back to us shortly on all of this.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay,
So
thank you.
I'll definitely keep the board posted, and we are on top of this. It was a concern before we issued any CO that they were definitely going to, and we also made sure that nobody was in those units, because that was definitely not going to, we're not going to get the CO if that was.
Okay, thanks, Valerie. And with that, I'll say goodnight to everybody, and Jason, good luck to you and your wife. And
I will, I'll do my best to be on the meeting in 2 weeks. So
okay,
I'm gonna plan on being there unless so hopefully you see me. Really.
Good luck.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Yes, good luck.
Yeah, yeah.
Our thought, we'll
us
send
posted.
lots of good wishes. All
Thank you. Thank you.
right, take care. Good night,
Have a
everybody.
Good night,
Night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
Good night.